Howdy, howdy, howdy. Guthrie Trapp coming to you here again from East Nashville, Tennessee. Going to do a little video today on introductory into country bends and a little string bending, little mini lesson here. So just wanted to say thanks. I just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I'm thrilled about. And thanks to you guys for all the amazing positive comments. It really helps. It lets me know that I'm going in the right direction. Really appreciate that. If you feel like it, check the links out below. Of course, I'm doing a bunch of education and still playing gigs and stuff. So, and sessions and all that kind of stuff. So, check out my website and all that stuff, social media. Anyway, getting into the lesson here. Let's start in the key of C. And again, you'll hear me say this a million times, as I always do, but a lot of this stuff is out of the chord shape. And when I say play out of the chord shape, I just mean, again, to reiterate that, I'm not talking about holding the chord down and playing stuff out of the chord while you're holding the chord down. I just mean visualizing these key notes, which we'll keep getting into more and more and more. But, I would say the first classic country style string bending thing that we could do would be out of your G-shaped C chord. I like to look at that chord into like three different shapes. I look at the low part, the middle part, and then the high part. So you'd never play this big giant chord, but it's just seeing it, And the middle part, there's a lot of music in this shape. So, but to get back to the lesson, I'm going to be playing out of the high register of this, which is this shape. And that's your G shape. That's barring the triad on the 5th fret, your B, G, and D string. And then on the 8th fret, we're barring the E and B string with the little finger. And now what we're going to do is we're going to play these high strings, the E and the B, and we're going to bend with my ring finger on the 7th fret, and we're going to be bending. You're always bending up to a note, so we're bending to that major third on the 9th fret, G string. That's the note we're targeting. So we're bending from here, which is G string, 7th fret, and we're bending up to that major third. So that's a pedal steel guitar kind of, we're emulating a pedal steel guitar. So a couple, that's the idea. So just a couple little tips on bending. For me, a lot of times using the little finger enables me, to get enough leverage to, this, bending with my ring finger, sometimes I have more control if I bend. The more I think about this, I have more control sometimes bending with my middle finger. It's just something about the way that it's just a little bit more comfortable. It's closer in, so I have a little bit more control. I'm kind of using this finger almost as a little bit of a guide. And then what I'm doing is, if I had to bend with just this finger or this finger by itself, there's no control there. So what I like to do is, I like to always, if I'm bending, now if I'm down here, if I get closer up the neck, then I might bend with my ring finger. It's just about, when you're down here, it's spread out more, so it's a little different feel. But I always like to reinforce the finger that I'm bending with some fingers behind it on the same string, just to give it that power and that control. Because if you had to do this, that's just, there's no control there, and there's no strength in that finger to bend on its own. So you want to reinforce with your other fingers behind it, same string, but I'm on, like if I'm bending here, let's see, I'm using that middle finger, but my first finger is right behind it on that fret, and it's just helping it guide along. So that's that string bend. And what happens is the note that I'm targeting, that major third, what's happening is I want this to match that note. I want it to be in tune. Bending in tune is crucial, especially when you have multiple string bends. Well, you want to be in tune anyway, but on the multiple string bends, you can really hear it because these two strings are staying fretted and not bending, and they're in tune, and then you want this one to just bend really nicely. So what happens is this becomes like a little muscle. It's like a little servo motor where it's going. It knows exactly how far to go to get that in tune, and that just comes with time and a little practice. But a great way to do that, like I was saying a second ago, you're bending up to this tone. So what I like to do in bending, even if you're doing single note like blues bends and stuff like that, you're always bending up to a note. So I want to fret the note that I'm bending to, get that in my head, maybe even sing it, in my head, and then bend up to it. So if I'm bending from here to here, so I'm always bending to that note. That's a great way to get your bends in tune. A lot of people bend out of tune. So that's a really great way to do it. You're always targeting a note that you're bending to. In this case, it's right up to there. If you take that up to F, you can resolve. Right to there, go to G, F, C. And I keep changing from this finger to this finger. It's really what's most comfortable for you. I mean, when you have those two fingers behind the ring finger, it's a pretty powerful way to gain some control with those two fingers reinforcing it. Now moving along, let's go to the key of E, so we can get have a nice amount of fretboard here to work with this other bend. So this bend is going to be out of your C-shaped E chord. And I'm looking at this triad, these triads right here, and I'm thinking that's going to be my bend, right? So I'm bending up to that note, the major third, right out of that pentatonic, but and so that bend, when we add this to it, so this is like classic country 101 bending here. So even your 5th fret E, 5th, 7th on the B string, and then bending that whole step, and then we're going to fret the B note on the high E string on the 7th fret. So we're going bending back down and then resolving to the 1. So I'm just doing a little pickup notes into that, right out of that shape. Right, so that's a nice little resolve. And then when we go up to the blues pentatonic, we've got that, but then when we go here, I'm going to fret my E note on the 9th fret G string and play out of this pentatonic shape. So the minor pentatonic in E, right, except right here, I'm going to bend from A to B. Right, and then the same thing, I'm going to fret the D note on the high E string. So it's the same lick, you're just moving it up to the minor pentatonic. So here we've got, and we're resolving right back to E. So I'm bending up, fretting the D note on the high E string, and then bending back down. So if you combine those, you get a cool country sound, which is major pentatonic, major, you know, and then the minor. Of course, we're going to resolve. So I'm going down minor and then resolving to that major third. Of course, we've covered that a bunch, you know, looking at that, these chords. You're always, you know, wanting to resolve back to that major third. So we've got right, so that's pretty cool. So that's a good little introductory to some country stuff. Now, there's a couple more that, like, let's get an A for a second. Here's a nice little one that's like a half step bend, and it's like this. If I'm playing out of my A shape, out of this big bar chord, playing out of that right there, and then just looking at the triad. So I'm going to bend from this major third up to that 4. So that's, and now I'm going to bend with my middle finger, and I'm just going to bend, and there's no fingers behind it, so you can't reinforce this. So it's a little tricky, but not too hard. So I'm just doing that little half step bend, and then back, and I'm raking. I'm hitting those two notes first out of the A, and then release. You go to D, E, back to A. So there's some cool stuff you can do right there. Another cool thing you can do is if you're playing out of this shape, which is your D-shaped A chord right here, I'm just going to take my little finger and my ring finger, and I'm going to play just the E and the G string out of that shape, and I'm going to bend this G string up a whole step. So that's a cool little steel bend too. So if I go, let's see. I'm having a hard time doing that one in tune myself. So you combine all these licks together to develop a vocabulary of string bending ideas for the country stuff. That's a pretty good one. So that's again, that's a little tricky. But with that little servo motor memory, muscle memory kind of idea that I was telling you about, you really want to, you can do these slow to be really soulful, or you can kind of, if you do that kind of steel thing, it's pretty cool. So there's some cool ideas for that together. This is an idea of what this can sound like. Let's just do a little, I'll do a little improvisation, easy for me to say here on Saturday morning. But yeah, so this could sound something like this. if you want to elaborate on this, you know, we can always do a private lesson, which I always try to say to folks. It's a great way to expand on these concepts. And you know, I always, if we do local, I always provide a video. If you do Skype, you can record it, so you've got the lesson to dig back into. But friends, thank you so much. I'm happy to be doing these videos. I learned from it. You guys are learning from it. So it's a win-win. And again, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you real soon. All right, take care. Bye.